All right. Good evening, everyone. This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There is time for public participation during the meeting as indicated in the agenda, and upon request to the superintendent, the district shall make reasonable accommodation for a person with disabilities to be able to participate in this meeting. Hopefully you follow along. Mr. Albright?
Here.
Arnold?
Here.
Burgundy? Here.
Here.
Angus? Here. Ryan? Here. Here. Benito? Spring sports. All right, we have meeting minutes from March 17th in our packet.
Move the Board of Education approve the attached meeting minutes from March 17th, 2025.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from March 17th as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Moving on to the agenda. Board policy provides that the superintendent of schools shall prepare an agenda for all board meetings as directed by the president of the Board of Education.
I move that the Board of Education approve the agenda as presented.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I will just note that this agenda has been updated from when the packet was first posted last Thursday. All those in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, first up is a school presentation about the career fair. Our career development facilitator, Caitlin Nelson, who will share information about the first DHS career fair that took place on March 10th, 2025.
As the slideshow is going up, I want to thank the board for all of your support with all of the career and college readiness efforts. It is making a huge difference in the lives of our students who either are reconsidering what they thought they wanted to go into or solidifying the choices that they have made, especially some of our seniors and juniors who are further down that journey. So this has been essential work. We see the need, and so we want to continue growing and building. So we thank the board for your support in that.
Good to see everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. I'm excited to update you on our career fair that we hosted on March 10th and go through what the day looked like, some of our student feedback, speaker feedback, what the outcomes were, as well as areas that we would like to improve next year. Before I get into the slideshow, I just wanted to revisit our college and career readiness board goal, which was the district will implement a robust post-graduation planning process, engaging all high school students and parents by the end of 2024-2025. We have been working diligently this year on many different ways that we can align what we're doing with this board goal. A few of the things that we have implemented, school links that we discussed back in January. Our students have been diligently working in school links, creating college goals, career goals, taking assessments and interest inventories, as well as using it as a resource and tool for exploration. I am also currently meeting with families individually. I have 12 parent meetings actually scheduled this week, so we can sit down and talk about their students' planning process, how I can help guide and support, provide resources, so that way they have that added layer of support as they navigate their students' post-graduation plans. We have also worked on students with their EDPs, their education development plans. This is a requirement for the state of Michigan that seniors graduating have a formal education development plan that really is a roadmap of what they plan to do when they graduate. So this document holds different components. It has their career goals, their college goals, learning style assessments, resume, as well as SMART goals, and mostly just a formal document that is really going to say what they're going to do when they leave Dexter schools. So we worked with our seniors last Thursday during the testing window, and they Zoomed with myself and one of our counselors, and they were completing their EDPs and submitting them. And I'm currently reading through them and approving them, and our seniors are going to be emailed their documents. So tonight, what I would like to start with is really go over the goals and purpose that we discussed in January. The main objectives that we had by hosting this career fair was exposing our students to various careers. We wanted to highlight the Dexter learner profile and have show our students direct application on the competencies that they are learning in the classroom and how those are transferable in various careers. And then networking opportunities. We wanted to connect our students with professionals so that way we could create the mentorship, internship, and employment opportunities for them. So overview of the event. This event took place on Monday, March 10th. We had approximately 1,000 students in attendance that spanned from grades 9 through 12. We had an overwhelming response from family and community members that would love to have participated in this event. As we started to confirm all the participation, we had 117 presenters that morning. Career clusters represented. This is a really important piece of information because our students are learning about careers and career clusters in schoolings. And career clusters are related occupations that share similar skills, knowledge, and industries, and it serves as a framework for our students to start to explore career options based on their interests, strengths, and goals. So we wanted to make sure that we had 16, with our 16 career clusters that are identified in schoolings, we wanted all 16 of those clusters represented. So our students had all of the wants and needs that met for the event. The session structure, students were emailed in February during advisory a Google form that had a list of all of our participants, and we asked them to select their top 3 that they would like to rotate through. And then we built the rotation schedule based on their requests. So the day of, our students participated in 3 30-minute presentations. Some of the careers that we had a retired Air Force pilot, a special agent in charge in Homeland Security, the director of environmental health at University of Michigan, a forensic scientist, physical therapist, construction project manager, and a few attorneys that represented different legal specialties. The next few slides are going to show you direct quotes from our students on the feedback that we received. Our students and staff, as well as our presenters, were sent an exit survey. Questions were worded a little differently depending on who was receiving it, but we wanted to really gauge how the overall event, their experience was, what went really well, and what we could improve on. So these are some quotes from our 12th grade students. I am mostly interested in civilian aviation rather than military, so having airline captains speak made me really happy. It provided me with a huge amount of relief. I picked careers I'm seriously looking into for my future, and each presenter did an excellent job explaining the career and what they do, and made me love the career fields even more. One of the questions in the survey was asking our students to rate the quality of presentations. 46% of our seniors said excellent, 50% said good, and 4% said fair. Our 11th graders, different jobs in the medical field require less schooling than I thought. Some of the things said in the journalism presentation really seemed really applicable, and the marketing sales presentation gave some insightful perspective. 31% of our juniors found the quality to be excellent, 60.7% said good, and 8.3% said fair. Our 10th graders, it opened my mind to careers I didn't think I was interested in. And it's okay to not have everything figured out right away. Sometimes it takes a while to find something that really resonates with you. Overall, 27.6% of our sophomores found the presentations to be excellent, 59.6% good, 11.3% fair, and 1.5% poor. And finally, freshmen. I realized that early childhood education is something I might want to pursue, and learning about cybersecurity was fun. I would love to learn more about it. 33.6% excellent, 57% good, 8.7% fair, and 0.7% poor. Some overall quotes. My favorite was the film presentation. I have been trying so hard to get into this industry, but haven't found any helpful information until now. Thank you. And the design and pre-construction presenter really opened up my eyes as a project coordinator. So overall student feedback from our full student body, 33.6% excellent, 57% good, 8.7% fair, and 0.7%. Our speaker feedback. I thought it was executed perfectly. I felt the organization was great and the communication was clear. I really enjoyed the experience. And I love that you're doing this. The registration process was slowed, but that was because of the amazing response of volunteer presenters. Thank you for having us. Their overall experience, 60% excellent, 37.9% good, and 1.7% fair. We also received some parent and community feedback. Parents were not in the building that day, but students went home and were raving about the day and the careers that they got to rotate through, and we received some really nice parent emails. One parent in particular, I just wanted to send a quick note to say thank you for hosting the career fair last month. The Making Waves just came. I know a ton of work went into that, but it was definitely worth it. Our student came home and told us all about his sessions, presenters, and the careers they had. It was definitely an impactful day. We appreciate everything you do at DHS, and the DHS staff does on a daily basis. A special thanks for going above and beyond on Career Day. I also received an email from a counselor at Milan High School. Her husband participated as a speaker on Career Day. She connected with me and wanted to know if there was a potential to partner up with Milan High School because they would love for their students to be a part of a career day like this. We haven't had discussions about it, but it just, I think, really just shows that there has been a positive ripple effect in the community, that people are really appreciative of this opportunity that our students were able to experience. What were the outcomes of our events? Career exploration. Excuse me. Students gained exposure to a variety of career paths and industries. The educational pathways, they were able to learn about the education, credentials, and degree requirements, enabling them to make more informed decisions about their futures. The networking opportunities, our students were able to connect with professionals for mentorship and to build relationships that could benefit them in their future. The community engagement piece, this career fair and future career fairs are going to really help tie and strengthen ties between our schools, local businesses, and organizations, just fostering more collaboration and support. And then the skills development and learner profile connection. The students were able to engage with professionals and utilize communication skills, professionalism, and other soft skills that are essential for career growth. And then highlighting our learner profile really hopefully deepened their understanding of the competencies that they are learning in the classroom and how our learner profile is an actionable guide for success. So areas of improvement, we are going to streamline the check-in process next year and make it more efficient for our speakers. We want to have more clear directions on the forms that our students sign up for when they are choosing their rotations and the speakers that they would like to rotate through. We would like to limit the number of total speakers and utilize the spaces available. We had an overwhelming response, which is a good problem. It was a great problem to have. Next year, we would probably limit the amount of speakers to make sure that we have comfortable space and AV capabilities for every one of them, if that's what they would like. And then also have alternates. So that way, if somebody inevitably had to back out because of a scheduling conflict, we would have some alternates available to fill in those gaps. Bring in more college, university, military service and trades training information sessions. And then the after session connection time. An example of this is currently, many of us know Mrs. Melanie Reyes, one of our local photographers and DCS parent. She has graciously and generously offered an hour of her time a few Saturdays from now for students to walk around Dexter, and she will show them the craft of photography. She's going to allow them to ask questions, show them how to use a camera, and really build on their skills if they're interested in that as a career. So we want to create more of these opportunities for our students. And then create panel sessions. There are industries and careers that a lot of our students are interested in. An example would be a lot of our students are interested in law. A lot of our students are interested in health sciences. So creating a panel session that students could choose as a rotation that will have those different specialties available to them that they can learn about in one session. But ultimately, we were really pleased with how the event ran that day. We're pleased with the feedback that we received. And really looking forward, we just want to build on the foundation that we have and just improve year over year. And hopefully also expand the scope of careers and industries that we can bring to our students. So I appreciate your time and support. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Just want to commend Caitlin and Melanie and the entire team for pulling this off and making it so, it was a great event. First time doing it, and it ran honestly tough on yourself, and it should be. It ran pretty flawless. It was impressive.
Thank you.
I was impressed by it. I hopped in, present, but I kind of walked around and saw what's going on. Most of the students I talked to here today, the feedback was really good. think some of them were appreciative of they were in class too.
Yes.
But they definitely seemed to like it, and the presenters that I heard, I thought were really good. To what extent did we provide guidelines to the presenters, so there's some uniformity in how things are presented, or are we going to in the future?
We did, and I'm actually happy to share that document with you. I can pull that up. We did. We provided all of our speakers a professional handout that was a guideline and really outlined their role as a speaker. So right here, your role as a speaker. We wanted continuity in all these presentations, so we wanted there to be guidelines. We wanted them to share their career journey. So how did they get started? What steps did they take in their education? We wanted them to highlight the key skills and qualities, highlighting our learner profile, any important qualities that a student would need to know about that career field to be successful. We asked them to describe daily responsibilities, debunk myths about their career if they have any, and then provide advice for aspiring professionals. And we also asked them to leave a couple minutes at the end for student questions. Our students were in advisory when they first got into school that day, and were given a note card to write down questions. So they received their schedule, their rotation schedule, they saw who they were rotating through, and we asked them to write down questions because we wanted them to engage the speakers. We even had tips for successful interaction, which a lot of them did read and brought, giveaways and just things to kind of keep them engaged. Some of the best, I would say, presentations were ones where students got to actually make something. Our Homeland Security, he's our neighbor. He wrote a lie detector test. They love that stuff. They loved the ones where they're like, oh, I can get up, I can try something, I can make something. So
something that we are going to improve upon this speaker guideline list is add some teacher notes. If it's someone coming to career fair that is not accustomed to comfortable presenting in front of kids all the time, we talk to kids all the time because that's what we do. We're in education. Some people who came to the career fair were, how am I going to talk to kids? How do I relay this information? So the next time we do this, we're going to add another page of here's some tips on how to talk to kids specifically, or how to relay information, or sometimes PowerPoint's not always the best way. Try this instead. Like Caitlin said, the lie detector test, that was great. We did not ask any of them their thoughts on their principal that day, but things like that to really get them to interact. So those types of things.
I thought it was great. I presented.
thank you. We appreciate you participating. That was very.
There you go. So great event. How many out of the 3 sessions get signed up? Students, how many were able to get I get all my top 3 of my dream choices, or I only got 1 out of the 3, or was I left out?
So,
or were they part of those knowledge blocks too?
Yep, great question. I had a little over 700 students that submitted their requests, and if they submitted their requests, we really did try to honor them. Going through and balancing the sessions, that was a little challenging. May have to move some around. There were about 300 students that did not, after multiple attempts to get them to submit their forms, they were placed in rotations. Those were mostly after going through the feedback, any of the negative feedback. If it was constructive, we took it and we added that to our areas of improvement. But I would say a lot of that feedback was from students that did not submit their forms, so they did not feel like they gained knowledge that they were looking for. But building their schedules from scratch, we wanted to just make sure we put them in different types of specialties. So if they had a business management rotation for session 1, we put them in health sciences, session 2, information technology, session 3. But we really did try to keep the schedules based on what the students requested.
Although we never would expect 100% reply from the students, we do want to work on the student response to make it a little bit easier. And if they don't respond, we're going to do some more one-on-one meetings with the students before the event, so that we really make sure that we are speaking and reacting to every single student and what they want.
You have to start earlier.
I would like to. Yes, I would like to.
Pretty great effort in a short period of time. So.
Yes, having gone through the process, there are definitely things that I will do differently, starting earlier And now that we have also data from schooling, so we have really good concrete data that we can really work off of for next year that we did not have when we originally started planning this event.
Yep, and that's why on some of our adjustments for next year, we talked about adding some careers, adding some more clusters, or adding panels. There was an overwhelming response from our student body that the majority of our students are interested in medical or criminal justice. Okay, so maybe those are career fields and career clusters that we need to bring more people in, and maybe less of some of the others, but also have all 16 represented in some way.
This is really fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Right. We are moving on to public participation. Each speaker is allotted a maximum of 5 minutes for a total of approximately 30 minutes. At this point in the meeting, those interested in making a public comment will be asked to raise their hand so that I may be divided. Would anyone like to speak to the board tonight? We will move along to our administrative board updates, starting with superintendent.
All right, first, Mill Creek administrative team update with Ken King's retirement, Brett Pedersen. Through the internal interview process and moving the principal position, and Katie Heidelberg, who had been the assistant principal at Anchor, that is moving to Mill Creek. She actually was hired to teach there. So now we need to find an elementary assistant and a Wiley. That's how on process. Wellness center agreement is in the packet, extending for 2 years with 5 monthly towns to continue operating it. We currently have just shy of 3,000 members at the wellness center. So to give you a perspective, the city of Dexter has about 3,520 residents. So it's a good number of community members that belong. The agreement will go 2 years, seeing as it's been, it aligns with the Power Wellness Agreement for the other centers, so that there's still reciprocal use of the 3 centers between members. You're going to pay about $1,500 operational monthly, but we were so far last year just shy of 20 grand positive. They made a bunch of changes, and it's increasing membership, so we'll continue to see some positive returns. Nothing. As part of this agreement, we set it up so that they had to take part of the reserve loss possible, so we worked that out. We're asking them to run it basically, so we're giving a small amount of their personal time, but in the end, they're going to end up donating back to the center. The FAQ for the bond, we've updated several topics. Updated in the last couple of weeks have been local district village rates of all the surrounding districts, Mill Creek and Creekside building grades switch, and the timelines, a comprehensive timeline. Weather can change, or plans change after a bond passes, athletic facilities, arts and sciences, and purchasing bonds. And so we've done a ton of updates on there. The other thing we've done, just real quick, I wanted to give a few bond facts. So we're at 8.5 mils, have been since the 90s. If the bond doesn't pass, it's still going to be at 8.5 for a couple more years. If we went for the original plan that the committee came up with was 330 million, and that was actually reduced down to the 241.8. If it was any smaller, so say it was even 150 or 200 million, it would still be 8.5 mils for several years. All it does is this extends out to 2033. The lowest would be like 2030, 2031. We're in the school bond loan fund, which actually saves our taxpayers a lot of money. If we did run the numbers as part of the Treasury Act, what happened work in the school bond loan fund, and the initial bond would move to 8.66, then 9.78, 9.02, 10.12, drop to 7.4. It goes like this. Over an average paying it off, that's like 8.6. So it's actually more. So we ran it so it made sense. And overall, I know I've heard questions as I've been around town and the community being asked, like you get this every time you have an election. How are the academic performance? Well, we have one of the 3 highest grad rates in the state. So we graduate all our schools at the time. We're one of the highest rated schools in the state because of our test scores. So what happens a lot of times is schools will have, so say a neighboring school that has a little bit incrementally higher SAT score. They have 10% of their kids not graduating. So that's 10% of their kids not even taking that test. So we have 100% of our kids take the test and they graduate at a time, and our scores are really strong. Overall, things are, we're in spring. Weather is nice today. Tomorrow it's probably gonna snow. So we're cruising along. We're fine. We're all fine.
Just have a question. Sure. So you just said that if we were not in the school bond fund, so if, how would that happen?
So we had an agreement with, so they changed the law years ago, and we have an agreement every district does with the school revolving fund. And our agreement's to be at 8.5. That's our agreement. So while the outstanding bonds are paid, any new ones will have to stay at that. There are other districts that have agreements that are slightly lower. All you have to get a 7, but we can't just change ours to a 7 because they actually cap the fund years ago, so nobody else can get it. What it does for us allows us to keep that stabilization of the fund or of the payments. So we're able to kind of build money back and forth as almost like cash flow, so that we're always paying steady. What we can do from that fund is when we're waiting on cash revenue to be collected to make payments, we can actually take the fund, pay, and then pay. Just makes it. Unfortunately, being almost every district in the state would love
If the extension of the millage did not pass, would not.
to still be in there and stay there.
So we
We have
have-
mills, but we're gonna have, we have to go for another bond because we have work. Just.
Just improvements, right? So, right, so we're talking about, basically rebuilding a school, and getting a whole new school versus this goes back to our original presentation, which was, we have the choice either to repair, which would cost 200,
37 million just repair across the street.
No, but the
45
whole-
rebuild.
all the whole package just to repair is
Check.
200. Or we can have a new school and some other, also repairs, but for 240. So the extra $40 million gets us much further ahead. And we're still averaging. So. 8.5. 8.5.
We've been at 8.5 since the mid-90s.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually above it, envelope, we're like this. So if you look at the website, you put the other districts about the village rates. So like mine was at 9 point something, 9.75, I think. Chelsea is lower, they're at 6.9, I think last year, but then they have an almost 1.06. Saline is actually lower, but when we combine their rec millage, the bond debt, and the sinking fund, they're over it. So we're all in the same kind of. That's how you fund schools.
Thank you.
I don't have any official updates, but while I have the floor, I am just gonna take a minute to say that the board has received feedback and comments about, with questions about the bond, about things happening in the district, about things they've heard. And so I wanna make really clear to the community that the best way to get information about what's happening in the district is from the district website. The board is always welcome to field questions and to help get your question to the right person. And there's a fantastic talk to us button right on the website. And then if you hit it and you send your question, it will get directed to the right person. I just know I've had a lot of questions recently, things that people have heard or seen on social media. And we've all played the game of telephone. And I just want to make sure, especially in this time when people have real valid questions about the bond, that the accurate information is getting out. So please feel free to email the board, send a question through Talk to Us, or look at them. There is so much information on our Dempster webpage, especially the bond page. So I will get off my soapbox there, but I just wanted to make sure everyone had accurate directions for where to go. We do not have student representatives here tonight, so we will move on to our consent items.
I'll move that the Board of Education approve consent items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve new hires, retirements, and temporary appointments of presidents in bulk. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. 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 Any opposed? Right. Moving on to our agenda items tonight. First up is some policies for first reading.
I move Board of Education approve the policies 3305 and 4230 for first reading.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
So the policy committee met and we went through trying to finish the rollout of the food and the EOLA, but specifically the policies that we kind of have weeded on were finance, because Dexter has a robust set of very specific finance policies that clearly work for the board, work for our CFO. And so we want to be very mindful of what we want to change, if anything, and what we want to bring over. So really, if you look at the policy minutes that are in from March 14th that are in your packet, you can see all the things we talked about, the things we wanted to keep, and really we're just bringing to you guys some combinations that make sense. That's really where we're trying to make it all sense. So it's clean, it's succinct, and it's not.
Any questions?
But the text on there, I left it as it was, because I didn't feel like I had the right answer, so that you guys can decide that. Right. That the blue text represents
Strike one.
optional. Yeah, we don't have to include it, sometimes we want to, so that.
It's crossed out.
Yeah, I think we were not. I don't think that was the accurate. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, since this is an action item, let's do a roll call vote, please. Mr. Oliver.
Aye.
Really, aye. Crucible.
Aye.
Angus.
Aye.
Aye. Next up, we have the remaining 2017 bond projects information. We previously discussed this item at the March 17th meeting and is presented for action this. Essentially, we are acknowledging the additional money that is available after the projects were completed from the last bond.
I'll move that the Board of Education approve the use of remaining bond funds for these projects to support allowable bond funded projects for any currently owned school district owned property or building.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
We have a list of funded requirements or how.
We're just working through the list we were. This is going to be set up for emergency repairs. And
Turf restroom building.
oh yeah.
We got a project for the turf restroom building for the Twin Turfs. We've got the switchgear unit that's coming in July. That one's coming in. Remember, that was a while ago, but that's gonna come in and be finalized to dump switchgear as well.
And that one we won't switch gear. We hope we have enough to continue to set up, but we also bid that out.
Yeah.
We know we got a price, but when they start tearing stuff up. who knows?
I met with them 2 weeks ago. They still said they were good. Nobody said anything about that, but you always know when rubber meets the road.
Any other questions? And to roll call vote. Mr. Arnold. Aye.
Aye.
Riser.
Aye.
Aye. Administrator salary level placements. It is time to approve level placements for administrative staff for fall 2025. Our packet includes a memo from the superintendent recommending approval of the attached level placements. Motion.
I'll move the Board of Education approve the attached administrative level placements for the 25-26.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Pretty much everybody's at level G, which is the highest level. We haven't really experienced E. We're gonna hire a couple new people, so they'll be coming in and we'll have to figure out what level we can get that. It's a process.
Questions? We'll do a roll call, vote, please. Aye.
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 Where?
Aye.
Albright. Moving on to the Filter First Upgrades Grant. This evening's packet includes a bid tabulation and recommendation from Principal Corporations Craig McCullough regarding the Filter First Healthy Hydration Grant offered by the Michigan Department of Education. Let's put a motion on the table and then we can discuss it further.
I move that Board of Education for the filter upgrades contract to John Dar Mechanical for $162,151. With a 15% contingency of $24,547.78 for a total amount not to exceed $188,199.59 on coming from the Filter First Public Hydration Grant.
Second. We have a motion and a second. And can I just ask that you provide a brief overview for the board and community members of what we're doing?
Yep, so a few years ago, the MDE came out when there was a lot of issues with Flint water. MDE wanted to ensure that all schools had filtered water bottles in their filtering system. So about a year ago or so, they put out the option for us to go and approve for the grant or to apply for the grant. It was a competitive grant, so we went and broke down the cost of where we feel they needed to be when we look at replacing all the water bottle or meeting the requirements of the Filtered First grant, which is one water bottle filler per 100 students, right, that was in the building. So we went, I looked at, counted, that gave us 45 here in Dexter. So that touched every school building, including Bates and Jenkins and the transportation building of where it was. We went through, looked at the costs for, at the time, well, Chris was like, we wanted to make sure we hit the mark to replace them. So we figured it all out. We did replacement filters for a year. All this was allowable in the federal grant. It was also pitchered water bottle fillers for Jenkins at the time. So we went, put in the cost, the funds for it. Thought we had enough, hoped we had enough to replace them all. The Filter First grant has very specific specifications too about what types of water bottle fillers come in, right? They meet certain filter standards. Not only do they have the water bottle filler itself, it also has to have a bubbler. It has to have on it a filter to show when the filter needs to be changed. It has to be accessible. You have to do all the checks. So we wrote our RFP with all the requirements of the Filter First grant in there. Again, it was 45 separate stations. Put that out for bid, put it out for the RFP. Not sure where we were going to get to go. So we literally, so the companies out here, local companies we brought in, we walked them through. Pretty much they put their eyes on almost all the spots for where the water bottle fillers are going to go. Part of the reason they didn't see everyone is we have some spaces where they have them now. So it's really going to be just a plug and play. We do have some water bottle fillers and filtered ones in spaces, but we wanted to have the same piece of equipment. So it's easy for us to go replace ones. So we ended up getting 5 bids. Our lowest bidder was John Dar Mechanical. So after the fact, we met, their bid was lower, a lot lower than what we actually got from the grant fund. So we'll be able to touch all 45 of the grants there and give some money back.
We were really surprised when this came in.
Yeah, shocked. I was, knowing the price of everything else, I was like, part of the conversations, and as we wrote in there that depending on where the bids come in, knowing we had some that were new that would meet the standards, we said, well, let's just see where we are. So we're happy to be able to replace them all.
So you answered my questions. We're turning money back in. Statement.
No, yeah.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll work through the process of where it was.
We try not to. We can get a bid.
Yeah, exactly. So how long is a warranty? We set the warranty with extra money, and then fire is out on this and filters.
Yep.
How much does it cost to replace filters? 45, and can we
Right, so that's the thing, yes, we can purchase other filters, so the cost of, this part of the grant will just be for this, for the 45 water bottle filter. So we can still use funds then for filters as well, or we still can use the funds for the water filler pitchers, so there's other costs we can put towards the grant.
This is just the first step.
Yes,
Okay, so we don't have to.
we'll go through the steps of,
We need to prove this first.
Yeah.
Right, no, I understand,
We'll keep turning away and make
Yes.
sure we get everything we apply.
yep, follow the grant.
Just, this is really nitpicky, but the addition of these two numbers just adds up to 60 cents, instead of 59, I don't know if it matters. You might want to change.
You're right.
You're right, I'm a penny off.
I round up to an.
I think, I know, sense wise, they definitely don't like it, I must, when I rounded and put it there.
I was gonna say, if they
Round
were
it up.
here, we would be rounding up to an even number, so
Yeah.
can I suggest that we?
I found, that's how usually keep sense out of it, right?
Amend-
I think that's why cents are out of it.
I'll amend my motion to have not to exceed amount of 190,000.
and second.
There you go.
Okay, any other questions? Let's do a roll call vote, please. Fuller?
Aye.
Jenkins?
Aye.
Ryder?
Aye.
Aye. Calvert?
Aye.
Aye. Our last action item tonight is the superintendent evaluation. At its December 16th meeting, the board conducted the superintendent's annual evaluation and approved the rating of effective, the highest rating available. Our packet this evening contains the 2024 superintendent evaluation summary statement, and this item is presented for action. We just want to note that the delay in getting this to the packet was partially my fault, just because we kind of lost the thread there. But this was written and completed at our December meeting. And so I'm going to turn it, or I guess we need a motion first. I'll move the Board of Education approve the attached summary statement of superintendent Dr. Christopher Timmons, 2020. 2020, I know, right? 2024 evaluation.
That was second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and I think we need to read it out loud. So I'm going to turn this over to Jennifer, who coordinated our evaluation for.
Okay, so again, we performed the evaluation December 16th, 2024, closed session, came out of the meeting, came out of closed session and approved it as a full board. No back in open session. And this is the summary. So the Dexter Board of Education has completed its annual review evaluation of superintendent, Dr. Timmons, in compliance with the revised school code using superintendent evaluation instrument SEI developed by Michigan Association of Schools. SEI was revised for 2024-25 period to include 3 categories: needing, support, developing, and effective. And this is, as just a reminder, there used to be 4 categories, now there are 3. Superintendent Timmons' overall rating of effective, which is the highest rating possible, is based upon the board's assessment of his performance in the following areas: governance and board relations, community relations, staff relations, business and finance, instructional leadership, student growth, and progress toward district-wide goals. Dr. Timmons has met the board's expectations in all areas that were reviewed. The following are recaps of the 2024 to 2026 goals that were set by the board. The board set a graduation rate of 4-year graduation rate meeting or exceeding 95%, and the actual achieved last year was 99%. The board's goal of math and reading achievement, the DCS students will achieve growth in reading and math as compared to peer schools. The actual is that state data shows that DCS students are growing in ELA and math at rates equivalent or higher than county schools. 76.4% and 73.8% of students achieve average or above average growth in ELA and math respectively. Post-graduation planning, the goal is that the district will implement a robust post-graduation planning process, engaging all high school students and parents by the end of 24-25, and expanded to engage middle and elementary school students and parents in 25-26. Post-graduation planning is currently underway. This includes changing to a comprehensive career college planning software, which is School Links, and a career day scheduled for March in 2025. process will continue to be refined. The fourth goal was facilities planning. The district will conduct a comprehensive analysis of our current future facility needs, which shall include a 10-year facility study and analysis of environmental and sustainability impacts. Sorry. Progress is that the comprehensive facility plan was completed and presented to the board on November 4th, 2024. Sustainability continues to be a focus. The board recognizes the work that all employees put forth to support our learners. We appreciate and value the leadership that Dr. Timmis provides. The talent of our team combined with solid financial status helps ensure success for our children. The district is well positioned to continue the strong, adaptive, and caring education and environment for our students. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Appreciate all your support.
Thanks. We need to vote to accept this statement. Aye. Aye. Albright.
Aye.
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 All right, moving on to our discussion items. First up tonight is discussion of the annual check registry and a change to the transparency or the change in our district's management and use of the transparency law, MCL 388.1618. And this packet, or this evening's packet, includes an executive summary regarding the MDE budget transparency requirements. I think I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Timmis to start and sort of lay the groundwork for everybody.
So I provided a background and history in the board packet, just so verbally. So back in the recession, back in 08-ish, we had gone as a state with 0 increases in per pupil funding for several years, from early 2000s up through 2007 or 2008. And then we received a cut, significant cut of about $470 a student. There was, not unlike during COVID, the COVID pandemic, there were stimulus funds sent to all the states. So in the stimulus funding, there were, every year was a new best practice, it was called. And every year you could see whatever politically was being pushed. So privatization, and, all kinds of things, school choice. We were one of the handful of districts. And at that time, did not participate in school choice, and then opened up because of that best practice on a very limited basis. So one of the best practices in one of the years was, I think, for $100 a student, is the district had to do 4 things, and one of them was list either the accounts payable check registry or the statement of reimbursed expenses for board members. The background on that, the legislature was mad at urban districts in the state, and they were finding that there were all these reimbursements to board members that were pretty excessive. So they were saying, okay, you have 2 choices. You can either publish a check registry or you can publish board member reimbursement, along with this whole other list, based on MDE guidance. So MDE every year is kind of evolved, and then they stopped passing all these best practices things and tying the funding, but it went on for several years. So there was an iteration where you had to do like 1 thing, then you had to do 4 things, then you had to do like 6 things, then you had to do 2 things. And it was every year a new list. So at that time, the Dexter board decided to post the board member and employee reimbursements. And one of the other things that had to be posted, is still on the website under the transparency, is our reimbursement policy. So it made sense at the time to put the reimbursements in, because we write very few checks out of the whole budget. I mean, you know, a year when we're doing lots of bond projects, our budget's 100. I mean, we're running through projects. So out of that, you're running through a handful of checks, all things considered. So that's how we got to where we are. The MDE has clear recommendations, and they actually bold in there that you have to put either the accounts payable check registry or the statement of reimbursed expenses. And they used to audit us. We used to get like the nasty grand letters, you didn't have the updated link, or they actually at one point during the best rep practices, the little icon with the state of Michigan on it. There were lots of iterations of how you post that icon. Then they gave us the actual exact size and pixel it had to be. So this goes way back. As a board, you can decide to change what a previous board did, but you have to, it's just not something you can generally just wake up and go, yeah, let's just do that. What I would recommend is to think through, like send it to one of the committees, like finance or policy, because some of the things that happen on our check register. So I gave you a sample of just the printed checks from fiscal year 24. Some of the things on here are reimbursements to kids, reimbursements to parents for lunch accounts for their kids. They're reimbursements for like the swim parents who go and do breakfast all season. It's reimbursements for their pancake mixes. It's things like that. There are items in there, and there's people's names, and what we didn't want to do was put in the board packet for now was put names of community members that had no idea their name was going to go on the website, the public board packet. They bought pancakes. So we just have to decide how we want to manage that. Do we want to leave them on? Do we not? We really don't want to change our processes internally, because we keep good records of what all these are, but you got to click on it 3 times to find out what it was for. But we put exactly who it was written to on the check, like anyway. I would not recommend to put it monthly, because checks haven't cleared by then. In check fraud, one thing that happens with check fraud for big institutions is that someone steals a check, they find a number. So if it's an open number, they'll find the number, they'll recreate the check for some amount that would be listed on the website. And then they find someone else that they fraudulently cash it for, and then they go withdraw from that account that they fraudulently create. So we don't want to be chasing this. We do most of our stuff through EFTs, but we want to be thoughtful on what we do for the publishing. It's not a problem to push a button and print it. It takes a few hours to figure out what we got to take names out of, if it's someone's name. We really should think through. And then there's things like petty cash. Petty cash is a good example of the sort of thing you end up chasing on. Someone's going, why do you get all this petty cash? We do a program with our special ed students. When they get into the community, they have to go board the bus or the wave bus, and they have to go somewhere. We give them money to learn how to do that. It's part of our process, but it has to be cash, so we have to track cash. There's times we write checks to ourselves, that's so we can move from one fund to another. There's lots of nuances, and one thing I would be hesitant, and actually not hesitant, I just want the board to think through, is I was once, when I first started as administrator, I was in another district, I'll say, I was at airport. We would print the check register, sit at a board meeting. They're the airport jets. The weight room is called the hangar. It's right next to the field. It's really cool thing. It was paid for by donors. On the check registry was a check for like $20.78 for bricks for the hangar. 20 minutes of discussion. Why would we buy bricks for a brand new building? What kind of brick can you buy for $20? Finally, someone in the crowd who worked in the audience, who was our facilities guy, stepped up. He goes, I got to tell you, I'm tired of listening to this. He goes, they're urinal cakes. You guys just spent 20 minutes talking about $20 for urinal cakes. So that's the other thing to be conscious of, is how much staff time we spend answering questions. So annually, it's manageable. I put in the narrative, we model ourselves on efficiency, sometimes to an extreme. So we're the lowest 9% of all districts in the state on spending for business and administration. We run at some years upwards of $100 million out of an office of about 4 FTE. We're efficient. We want to spend money on the classrooms. So we're the top 20% on instructional salaries and the top 8% in instructional support. That's where the money's supposed to go. So we can spend it. It's not a problem to change the check registry. We just want to have, I think the board needs to have assigned one of the committees to work through some of the nuances on how we want to do it. So annually would be the recommendation, but I put a list of questions to really think, okay, what do we do with employee needs? We got reimbursements. What do we do with the kids? What do we do with the parents? Do we tell them when we're writing a check? By the way, you're gonna be on the website that you received $29.35 for the lunch account. So we just got to think of it. But it's not a problem to do it.
I'll say I was interested in this, and so I actually just, last night, just went through and looked at a bunch of different schools, but the kind of cross section of. And I will say, it's not, it's kind of a either or. I would say, you know, and if they do it, for the most part, they do it annually. So for instance, Brighton, Chelsea, Howell, ones that I didn't find at all, so I don't wanna say it's not there, but I either put it in their search or I looked on their finance page. Bedford, Holt, Hickney, Tecumseh, Lee, I didn't see any of them. So I would say there's not a clear answer that everybody's doing it and we're the one with the outliers. Like I said, I mean, the other one I found that was monthly was South Line, that was surprising.
And I could say I've been a administrator for 12 years. I've been asked one-
I mean, and
By one person.
I guess I would, you know, if we're gonna send it to a committee, I don't think it's policy, I think it's finance, because policy, we need to put together a policy on this as a recommendation. I think if we're working out, are we not, how are we doing it, I think that's more appropriate.
I agree, it's risk management.
So I appreciate that, as a policy chair, that we're not gonna put that in.
And I will say, we do the financial narratives, part of the board's reasoning at the time was we were doing the quarterly narratives, which is way more than any other district really provides. Like by department, where we are on spending every quarter. And it went from nothing in most districts to get choose, we were already doing the quarterly narratives. So that's part of their decision making at the time. And in the end, whatever you guys want to do, I would just spend some time thinking through how you want to do it. We want to do on names.
I'm in favor of having somebody look at it. I think it makes some sense. None of us were made that decision. I haven't put a second thought really into whether we should or which approach we should have. So I'd be interested to see what the finance committee comes up with and whether it would really be a burden on us. But I do have concerns of risks. Like I poked around somebody else's check register and I saw things on there that as a privacy lawyer I would not want on there. So we have to evaluate all of that. But you know, we are a public institution, so to the extent that it's something that there's a desire for it, at least look at it, make an educated decision to how we're going to proceed rather than just carrying it over.
Either or.
That's what MDE says, it's one or the other. And really, I asked, don't make us do two things, it's just one more thing to have there, is more do and track, because like we have to track. To meet the MDE requirements, like for the reimbursed expenses, we have to track that in separate ways. We'll have to do this in a way that we have someone that's gonna take hours of their time to go through. And change whatever we decide name-wise we're gonna change. Finish sometime.
Right, that's my question is what, like how, I know there's a couple people that have brought this up pretty regularly over the years. But I don't know that that's a widely held belief. So that's the question is there community outreach or whatever desire to have this thing? And are they actually gonna look at it?
And the reason I say not both, is MDE literally gives us a checklist of what we have to have. So it's easier to just go down whenever there's new people, because remember, this was from 09. So something in 2035 or 2040, whatever you guys decide is gonna still be going on in some way, shape or form.
My biggest picture. We can talk about it. Yeah. When this came up 3 years ago, Mike came up with the top of stuff. And there's elections, so people in the community, they didn't really care that want to talk to me. Someone really did. Someone just said, I'm tired of hearing about it, just publish it. So that's one item, but what I am also worried about, we publish it, but don't publish the other. Then you're gonna have same group, we're not publishing it anymore, that's more valuable to me. Because it was really more valuable to the community, and I don't know how you sense that, they don't actually see it. But that's my biggest concern. They're publishing one, but we're already publishing, we take it away, and publish something else. We're used to seeing something that they may or may not like, but they may not even look at. And then you said with this, the same concern about privacy and everything.
Yeah, we should definitely look at, you know, what we'd be removing there more benefit to having how we currently have it, is that information useful to the community or to us in that form? Because I'm not advocating we do both, so if we're gonna spend staff resources to do one together. Like, if the check register is what people want, we're gonna take away this other bucket of information. So we don't have the resources to do both, so I think the committee should look at it.
Right, I think employee reimbursements and board reimbursements, to me, would be more interesting to see than, you know, we paid for the pancake breakfast.
You know, if we only did the check register for this, actually, yeah, it's a lot longer and it'll be more reaction, so.
So it would be in all, it would include EOTs as well.
You don't have to talk through, that's what really, if you send it to say finance, you wanna talk through, you want to put just checks.
Yeah, this is only 1.5 million, right?
Yeah.
It's a small
What's the
payment.
law require? What is a check register?
Yeah.
Technically,
Is
that's
it literally just the paper
technically
checks?
checks.
And that's like,
Looking at
5%.
Christie, it's technically checks.
Technically, yes.
So you would be missing a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Do other districts that publish their check register, together?
It's a.
Some of it.
and that would take forever to do that.
Yeah,
So
so
you're looking at several hours. I think that we haven't tried it yet.
well, and I do just want to be very clear to the board and community. I have seen the unredacted check register. These are absolutely student names and parents, individual parent names of students. And to Brian's point, I think one of the most difficult jobs we have is balancing like real serious values here. And while I think all of us really do value transparency, I also think we value privacy and individuals' rights to not have their name everywhere. So these redactions were made with my support because they ended up in a board packet. This didn't have to meet any letter of any law to show it here. And so I do think that we do need to really be thoughtful about last names of people in our district. There are all kinds of reasons that people don't want their names to pop up when, and I just think we need to be really thoughtful about family names who are part of our school. I'm not making an argument to not do it. I just want to be really thoughtful that privacy needs to be just as important as transparency.
And this is why the board decided what they did there. And then we found the actual resolution. September of 2009. Right before the October budget. I still remember this. They were sending us MOUs from the state. Like we're having special meetings constantly. Whatever they wanted, so that we were out.
Like, do you have some thoughts you want to share?
No, I think you know, what you guys have all said is what I was thinking as well. I think we need to balance the need for transparency with the public, with being able to have,
Point of order.
yeah, having transparency for our, you know, being a public institution, but then also protecting the privacy of people that are trusting us. Not only student and parents, but also maybe not so much, but businesses. There might not be the law that they can't be, you know, published, but there's relationships that we have with businesses that could be jeopardized by publishing how much we pay them. Hey, they're people in our community, and they could be treated differently if they know possibly do business. It's just one thing that.
The only other thing I would add is that this information is available if anybody wants to come in and see the information. So there's a difference between mandated publishing of all of this versus if somebody's interested, they always. That's my understanding. Always good to see. It's a great way to review the check register.
It's not long now.
No, it's not private. It's just not.
Sorry, I was asking where the state reimbursed the expenses. I think I found it.
Transparency, which it's like 3G.
Yeah, and I do want to just bring that point up too, that the transparency page is very long. There's a lot of information and continuing to add more information, I think, makes it less helpful to our community. So I think we should be thoughtful about how we structure just adding things.
It used to be like 3 things, or 2 things and 4 things, and then it was 4 things for drop down, and then we have, yeah, let's get out of it.
But if someone wanted the check register, they could either come to the office to request to see it, or they could submit a FOIA.
Either way.
So it's
we
not
went
as if
through
it's
that.
not available.
Right. Yeah, one thing we'll have to do is talk through the redaction part. Like if they come in to look at it, a lot of times they love looking at it. That's weird. But when they send it out, we gotta make sure. A lot of times if we, they come in and look at, we think these things, they're usually somewhat remote. Especially like during the pandemic, they were all. We shut down, we were refunding from the spot, crazy. And we do refund more than others because we run we do our in-house, we do everything in-house, like the best practices. Came out, we're supposed to all privatize it. Well, we kept transportation in-house, we kept everything in-house. Food service, so most districts privatize their food service. We run it in-house, and when we give lunch deposits, we're the ones giving it, not Chartwell's or Airline or Sodexo. When we do, community ed, most of the districts around us have a city with a recreation park. We're the recreation park. So anything that happens, like if there is some kind of clinic and we get a community member that says, I'm gonna go run a youth lacrosse clinic. We pay them through a 1099, we're writing a check. Because they're not gonna set up a business to go run a Saturday morning lacrosse. So, and we end up doing some kind of thing on our end to make sure that we're making sure that we're paying for our administrative overhead, but not gouging our community, because we're just trying to break. So that's why we have lots of different checks. But those people didn't know they were getting paid once. They were just trying to run the process. Kids want to work the flag.
Just something to add?
Just one other piece of information, right? We are audited each year, the requirement. And a lot of, some of the audit procedures are called testing. So they'll actually make selections through our general ledger or through our vendor listing and, ask us for supporting documentation. So a lot of these transactions are selected in a way, whether it's random, whether it's part of a grant, single audit, or in the past, I know we've talked about elements of unpredictability, right? An auditor comes in and they do something different just to kind of make sure that you're not used to exactly what's happening. It's a test I've performed in the past, looking at vendor totals, and then creating a test to ensure that they made sense. So there's a lot of analysis already performed on these. So just so you guys know, other people are looking at our transactions and our vendors through a multitude of the audit procedures.
How big is it? What I like the most, I love this a lot. Probably the 2 things I love the most was this and the open meeting. And I ran to the bulletin 10, 15 out of the blue. I started going back. As far as I flew back, and we never increased. We've always been that low. Even as our budgets increase, you're going to budget increase. Business office.
I talk about our business administration.
Yeah, the percentage going from business administration to funding for the cost of funding education, basically overhead. Say non-instructional and education stuff that need to do to run school. If you look at the Ann Arbor schools, they have businesses. Now the districts too. I kind of like the fact that being nimble. So when this is brought into discussion with the finance. Is that one about how much is it? Yeah. How much really will it take out of us?
Right.
We can solve one problem, we create 2 other problems. Not gonna solve the problem. It's solve a wish, but then you create it. Make you upset.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is that there is general consensus that we are open to the idea of moving to changing which transparency metric that we use next year. It sounds like people's main concern is on balancing transparency and privacy. And it sounds like most of us feel like finance is the appropriate committee to dig into some of the details and processes that we would need to make that change. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Or if that change actually beneficial.
Yeah, or if that
Yeah.
the change is
Yeah.
beneficial or not.
So you'd like the, so, yes,
It seems like, from a personal standpoint, it seems like this is worth looking at further, because I think it's also important to show our community if this is what's being asked for right now, if this is what's going to feel reinforcing, then I think it, especially, I mean, it's just honestly the era that we're in is that people are looking at line item things these days. And if this is the way to help our community understand that we are also looking at line item things and we are also caring about what we need to care about, then maybe this is the right move for us right now. But I think we need to really be thoughtful about how we do it.
we can certainly take this up in finance today. We have a meeting, have a meeting on the agenda, so we can talk about this and we can come back, make a recommendation.
And you have an example. This water check register.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's been a lot of questions brought up today for you guys to think about in terms of like check registers, EMTs, like what is the scope of what we're providing for people?
At least if you received any other requests for.
Not specifically. I'm aware that it's been discussed on social media, and because of that, I'm getting feedback. I think, as I say, I think that the impression I'm getting is that the era we're in, there's just a lot of concern about making sure that everyone is being attentive to everything. And so I do want to honor that, but I also, I mean, I know from looking at the check registry here, I believe we missed a student on our thing.
There's a, yeah,
I just found.
I just found.
And
But what we had to do, this is the problem, when you do it after the fact, is we had to go into Power School, try to find the parent name or the kid's name, see if they were currently a student. And then when you do it after the fact, they've already graduated, so if you don't do it the certain way, it doesn't show up. So if we go to start publishing it, what we want to do is somehow, this is why I'm asking, keep some kind of track as we write checks, just, oh yeah, by the way, this is our list of student or parent reimbursement for the kids. So we have it handy, so it's a little more efficient again, but that's a whole process change.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, mainly I bring it up just to say, we tried, we intended to not publish any student names on this. And we still missed them, so that's a concern and a worry for me. So,
Well, I think I'm happy to look at this, as I'm sure the whole finance committee is happy to look at this. But I think that what Christy just pointed out was also going through my mind. I mean, the auditors spend a lot of time going through this. And when she says that they do a test, they might pick, 50 items. If one of those items is not correct, they're then going to double that the next time. They're going to then ask her for 100 items or 200. I don't know. It's huge. It compounds. And so it's the audit procedure is a very formal and thorough process that we are fortunate to have as a board to rely on. So, there's always stories of fraud, et cetera. And we obviously don't want that ever to happen. And we do pay close attention to a lot of this. So I'm not opposed to, like I said, anybody can come in and look at any of this at any time. So, but I don't want to open up the privacy issues.
and I think that, I don't know, correct me if this doesn't seem right, but I think if going through all of the risks, that's what the committee decides, I think that's important to bring back to the board, and then we can have further discussion at that point.
I'm one person, so we can talk about it in the next discussion.
Really be thoughtful. It's- Previous boards can't tie the hands of future boards. Sure. But you also, as a current board, you want to look at, they did something for a reason, whether they, and sometimes you can do it, you're handed this thing and you're like, okay, we gotta pick one. And then it plays out over 15 years, and then you go, okay, here's what we should do, here's what we shouldn't do. I mean, at the time when this was passed, we would have known we'd be EFT.
Right.
And this was, I still remember getting paychecks. I don't, Christie didn't work in a business office when we used to do that. Wow.
I used to carry gun, cash, soldiers checks. Payroll. We have, on guard.
I worked in the Kmart cafeteria, you know how they did it at Kmart? When you got paid, you got cashed out at Kmart in the back of the store, and you had to walk through it with all your cash.
You broke up.
And then inevitably, as soon as we all went to pick it up, the blue light would start on. I was in high school, but I'll never forget it. I'm like, that's kind of brilliant and manipulative.
And Jennifer, I do also just want to say, I also think you guys can think through whether there are processes that would be changed going forward. I don't want to think that about doing anything retrospectively, like that's not fair to any of the business office, but thinking about if you think about making a change, having it be forward facing so that for perspective, so that everyone should. Okay, sure. Know what's happening. Sure. Okay, anyone else have anything else they want to say on that? All right. We are going to move on then to our WISD election information. Our packet tonight includes information regarding the WISD budget timeline and board election. Each ISD member district board will need to elect one trustee to pass the district vote in person at 6 p.m. on June 2nd at the ISD, which is over on Wagner Road. The complete list of candidates will be available after May 5th. The board needs to consider a resolution to appoint a voting representative and designate the district's chosen candidate at least one meeting prior to adopting the resolution, which must happen between May 12th and June 2nd. This item is presented for discussion.
So
It's gonna
come up all the time.
Yeah.
It is the goofiest process. So tonight you have to decide who might go.
When deciding if.
You don't, you just talk about it. You don't
Go
have-
in person.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
person.
so they cast the vote.
Cast the vote and who's the backup.
Okay.
So Elise,
Yeah.
I think is the person who's going, right? Her face. When you got her
Well, okay, so anyone on the board, anyone on our board can go and cast the vote for Dexter or the candidates that we decide at our next meeting.
Just need something that's available.
We need someone who's available on June 2nd at 6 p.m.
Which is the Monday.
Yeah, I will say last year I did make an unofficial policy that anyone with a graduating senior does not have to be that representative, so that applies to few of you this year. So I will uphold that bargain since I made that.
I'll do it.
I'll go. Yeah, I can back up.
Want to do it. I don't have anything else.
Are you available?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so for now, let's say that Mike is the
Okay.
primary and Melanie will be the alternate.
That's okay.
Just so you know what
Don't
you're
be
thinking about. So it starts right on time. Vote for whoever the board decided you're voting for. If there's any form of tie or tiebreaker, there's like this long process. You could get caught there.
Oh, boy.
with your deliberation.
It's just like.
Oh, boy. You're gonna be smoking.
It was written in the 60s, I think, the process. So imagine how they vote.
And they are very,
All right.
set on it.
Yes.
Okay, so all we have to do is kind of identify at the next meeting, we will like, as an action item, yeah.
Good.
All right, perfect. Moving on to our next opportunity for public participation. Is there anyone who would like to ask the board? Move on to board comments.
I'd like to know. Center for been almost 6 months now.
Oh, anyway.
I like the information put out, but still. Should be. Otherwise, it's just, we're just receiving data.
Who else have any comments? In your packet, we have information items, we have policy minutes, we have nice job notes from February, and this district really rocked it out with the policy notes, or the nice job notes this,
Yeah, there's a lot.
this month we found. And then we have the wellness center agreement for everyone to peruse. And with that, we have no closed session tonight, so we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.